Hey, it's Kinsey Ray. I specialize in coaching growth-minded people on how to create a winning mindset and strong habits to overcome life's challenges and become the best version of themselves. And today I want to dive a little bit deeper into what Happier Days is and explain a little bit about my platform and my mission with Happier Days as we are getting ready for the Mrs. International pageant. I'm so excited. We're about 29 days away from the official first night of competition. And I'm really thankful that this pageant came into my world because it's really just helped me grow and blossom and has started projects that I've wanted to get started on for years. It's just lit a fire within me. And one of those things is my Happier Days mission. So if you guys have been following me for any amount of time, you know that I have been really open about my struggle with self-harm. I've talked about it for about a decade now, sharing my story, sharing my experience in hopes to let others who are struggling know that they aren't alone. Because when I was 15 years old and I struggled with self-harm, I remember feeling completely alone. I felt like I was crazy and I was the only one going through this and something was wrong with me. And it was a really hard thing to cope with. And it honestly felt like my life was just destined to be sad forever. That's how it felt in the moment. And that was really discouraging. I honestly questioned my purpose. I thought, if I'm just going to be sad for the rest of my life, do I really want to keep going? And that's a scary place to be. Those are scary thoughts to have. And so I remember being 15 years old with the scars on my legs, and I prayed to find a woman who got it. She had scars like I did. She had experienced the same struggles, but she had made it to the other side. She was older than me, she was thriving, she was happy, and she'd made peace with her past. I was like, can there please be someone that can show me that life is not just destined to be this sad experience that I'm in, that I'm not going to be living in sadness and shame and embarrassment and self-loathing for the rest of my life? Can someone show me that it gets better? And I prayed every day to find a woman who could show me that. And unfortunately, I never found that woman. So instead, I became her. And I made it my mission to speak up about my story. I know self-harm is a really taboo topic and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. A lot of people don't understand it. And I decided I want to talk about this. I want to be a light to others who are currently struggling, because this is still a very prevalent problem this day and age. Whether you know it or not, there's people in your life right now that are struggling with self-harm. There's kids around you that are struggling with self-harm. It is a prevalent problem still to this day, unfortunately. And I know this because I talk to people about my Happier Days mission and I'm telling them what I'm doing. And every single person I've talked to this year about Happier Days and my mission to not just spread awareness about self-harm, but educate people on positive emotional coping skills. Every person that I've talked to about this either struggled with self-harm themselves, they have a child who's struggling with self-harm, or they know someone close to them who's struggling with self-harm. They say, wow, I know someone who's struggling with this. My daughter is struggling with this. My neighbor is struggling with this. Like, people all around you are being affected by this. And so it was really interesting that I've talked about this for a decade. I've known that I've wanted to write a book. I've known that I was supposed to do something in this space, and I just haven't quite known what. And so when this pageant came into my path at the end of last year, and I learned a little bit more about pageantry because I didn't know a lot about it. And I learned that I had to pick a platform. And a platform is what you want to make a difference on. What is a cause or an issue that you want to go create change in? And I was like, wow, this is kind of perfect. I didn't know this about pageantry. I just thought it was like fancy gowns and swimsuits and the prettiest girl wins. No, pageantry is really about the woman who's making a difference. The woman who really is creating change in her community and in the world and is going after a cause to truly make an impact. And so when I learned about the platform aspect of the pageant, I was like, whoa, I really think this is for me. Like, this is really something that I've wanted to do for the last 16 years. So competing in this pageant and being Mrs. Utah International has really gotten the ball rolling on taking something that I've talked about for 10 years and something that I'm really passionate about making a change in, and it's just put it in motion. I was able to go brand it and call it Happier Days is what I came up with because I know life is not perfect and we won't be happy 100% of the time, but I believe with the right tools, we can have overall happier days. That's my goal. I know I'll experience human emotions, but my goal is to just have happier days overall and help you do the same. So I launched my podcast and I launched my Happier Days ebook where I'm really helping teach people how to create positive emotional coping skills, because it doesn't have to be self-harm for you. You don't have to struggle with self-harm to struggle with feeling intense emotions. I believe emotions are a part of the human experience. They're not bad, they're just a part of it, and we're gonna experience them throughout the rest of our life. Trauma and tragedy and grief and failure and heartbreak and all those heavy emotions, it's not a matter of if you're going to experience them. Nobody is immune to the tragedies and hardships of life. It's a matter of when you're going to experience them. And so my passion and my mission is to encourage you to create those positive emotional coping skills so when life does happen, you're equipped to handle it in a healthy way. And you don't have to turn to negative emotional coping skills like I did and cause even more problems in your life and more damage and more things that you have to overcome. Because struggling with self-harm and various forms of negative emotional coping skills, it only caused more issues in my life. It caused months and years of damage that I had to work really, really hard to undo and overcome. And so I'm so passionate about this because I want people to be equipped with the right habits and the mindset and the tools to know that, hey, when life happens and you're going through a hard season, 1, you're not alone. 2, you're not crazy for feeling the things that you feel. And 3, you can get through it in a healthy way. Now, hard seasons are still hard. Having the right tools doesn't make grief and losing people that you love any easier. It doesn't make trauma and tragedy any easier. Those experiences are just hard. But we make it so much harder by choosing to use negative emotional coping skills, like drinking our life away and abusing alcohol, or getting sucked into substance abuse, and then you come out the other side of a hard season with a really heavy addiction that now you have to go handle. Or you turn to the traditional form of self-harm that people think of, and you physically hurt yourself and you have scars now. There's so much extra turmoil we cause by using negative emotional coping skills that I believe can be avoided. And so that's what I educate people on in my Happier Days ebook, is my 3-step process I personally used of understanding emotions, identifying your current patterns, and then how to create new healthy habits and create those positive emotional coping skills so you're equipped to navigate life's challenges in the best way possible. So you can get a copy of my ebook if you click the link in my bio. You can use promo code WIN123. That's WIN123. I would love for you to get a copy of it so you can learn more about the Happier Days mission. I talk a lot about how you can start this conversation with your kids. I believe the change is going to start with us modeling positive emotional coping skills for our kids. As I'm a new mom now, I've been thinking about that a lot. How do I want to teach my son about emotions? How do I want to teach my son about navigating life when it gets hard? And I believe that we model things for our children. We model how do we react when we're in a bad mood? How do we react when we have a bad day? And they're watching. So creating positive emotional coping skills for your kids starts with you, right? Do you go drink a bottle of wine at night when you have a hard day? Do they see you punch a wall when you're angry? And they're learning these patterns from you. They're learning, oh, this is what we do when we're upset. And unfortunately, if you pay attention to a lot of the media, movies, TV shows, negative emotional coping skills are glamorized, right? When you're having a bad day, let's go drink. When you're having a bad day, go use substances. Go get in fights. And it's all glamorized that this is how we cope when things are hard. And so where do you think we learn a lot of this stuff from? From TV, from our friends, from what's modeled to us. And so we have to be the change that we want to see by modeling the positive emotional coping skills to our kids. To show our kids, hey, I can see you're having a bad day. I can see that you're feeling frustrated. Let's go for a walk. Let's paint. Let's play with some toys. Let's do something to change our state. Let's do something to process these emotions in a healthy way. And so I believe it starts with us. And I dive deep on that in my Happier Days ebook. And I'm really excited to continue to get this message out into the world and continue educating people on the importance of creating positive emotional coping skills, because I believe it can radically change your life when life happens. And I'm extremely passionate about this. And so I super appreciate everyone's support so far. Those of you who have gotten your copy of the Happier Days ebook, it means the world. For those of you who listen to the Happier Days podcast and you share it, I hope you know you're helping me spread this impact even further. My goal over the next year is to impact 500,000 people and get this message out into the world and really help people take charge of their mental health and create more confidence in everyday life. To let people know that your past doesn't define your future. Negative emotions don't mean something is wrong with you. And I believe if we have the right tools, we can handle the hardest situations in the best way possible. So I'm excited to keep moving this mission forward, and I just super appreciate everyone's support. We're about 29 days out from the pageant, and I'm really excited to see what happens. So I appreciate everyone who's been cheering me on and the words of encouragement. You can share this if anyone comes to mind of people who are struggling with their mental health or struggling with self-harm. Please share my content with them, share the ebook with them, share my podcast with them. I would love to help in any way that I can, just to make sure that these kids who are struggling, and young adults and adults who are struggling with their mental health, know they aren't alone and know that your past does not have to define your future. A temporary hard season does not mean your life is destined to be sad forever. And I think it's really easy to think that when you're struggling with your mental health, when you're going through a season of grief, when you're just in the suck. It's easy to think it's never going to get better. And so I hope my light and my story and my message and my podcast and my ebook and everything I'm putting out there can serve as a reminder to whoever needs it, that a bad day and a bad season doesn't mean a bad life, and we need you here. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. If you're not yet following me, definitely hit follow so you can follow along as we journey to the crown for the Mrs. International pageant and continue getting this Happier Days message out into the world. I love you guys. I appreciate you. My name is Kinsey Ray, your current Mrs. Utah International 2023. See ya.